For staying with us. It's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on the front page of Nigerian newspapers. And Olamide, as well as Nelson, is standing by to bring us up to speed. Good morning, guys. How are you doing?
Good morning, Veronica. And we're doing pretty great this morning.
Good morning, Veronica.
Olamide, good morning.
Ibrahim.
Oh, good morning, Ibrahim. Yeah.
Really good today. Looking all through, social media yesterday, we could see a whole lot of reactions. And that could give you an idea as to what we will be having on the front pages of the newspapers this morning as to, the recent Trump policy stopping the HIV funding for countries. And Nigeria is one of the countries that will be affected, of course, in this decision. But let's take a look at what the Nigerian newspapers have to say on some of these stories. We'll take it up from here. We'll begin this morning, of course, with the Nation newspaper. And the big story here is the president saying steady power is my priority. The president is saying that the power sector is his priority. The First Lady disburses 50 million naira to 1,000 Kwara traders.
Some good news there.
Right, of course, it is a good news. Another story on infrastructure. The federal government Lagos signed MOU on a 68-kilometer rail project. Arms dealers from Niger Republic arrested. How Wiki funded Bala Mohammed's 2019 election.
It's something to really bite here, let me do it.
Well, that's a big allegation. And the Nation is not quoting who made that statement. But of course, for those who have interest in that, you can pick up the newspaper to look at that. Let's see what the next newspaper has to say.
And the next newspaper would be The Leadership. With something here political ahead of 2027, CSOs dismiss opposition's merger plan. Well, it's still too early to say that, Says Nigeria's political parties hijacked by individuals. El Rufai alleges plan by APC to destabilize opposition. Well, we're looking to see what that would mean at the end of the day. Not a lot this morning on The Leadership, and so Olamide, that will be it on The Leadership paper.
Well, let's go to the New Telegraph. And of course, as The Leadership, there is not a lot on the New Telegraph besides the Niger Delta Chief Chompolu thanking the president on signing the act for establishing the Nigerian Maritime University. But other stories here show that EU other donor agencies not funding Nigeria's election. INEC is making that clear this morning. Another allegation, it seems that our papers this morning, we have a lot of allegations. Federal government inducing opposition parties with 50 million naira each. Atiku alleges that's the candidate in the 2023 election, the PDP candidate. I'm wondering 50 million naira for each party. When we look at, the cost of getting ticket and all of that, how fundable is that? 50 million naira each for each party. We'll leave it for the candidate to actually prove that. But let's see what the next newspaper.
But before we go to the next newspaper, that act that's now established the Maritime University of Olamide is a long time coming. And so this is another kudos to President Bola Tinubu for having to sign that into law now, because the people in that region have been calling for that university to be established for quite a long time. We need it. Again, remember the benefits that would bring to that region, considering that region is also, where we take oil from. So to have a university that will train people on the technicalities and the engineering of that sector, that for me is an absolutely great thing.
Technicalities, as you have mentioned, is also, very important. I've seen some students who traveled outside of the country to study maritime, but then for an internship is sort of, hands-on experience. Some of them have to be sent back to their countries, and it takes a lot of while before they're being inducted. But having this university, they do not have to go outside the country. On our own soil, understanding the terrain, that is very important. Very, 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 very important.
Now, The Independent is the next paper to be considered right here. And lingering crisis, PDP BOT meets today. National Secretary position tops agenda as Governor Mba Wabara Akubundu. Others shown Southeast PDP stakeholders meeting. And Southeast PDP leaders frown at crisis over party's cry. Well, pass confidence vote on Ayao. Politics is taking the head here on Independent Olamide. Article political desperation responsible for PDP's catastrophic disintegration. This is quoting the APC. And the Minister of Aviation says here, I'm excited with Independence Award recognition. Oh, okay. And then still on that, article says Nigeria's democracy far stronger than, or not article, and the APC says far stronger than article's political ambition. Olamide. Okay, that's politics for you right here on the Independence. But we're still waiting to see what would be the outcome of the BOT's meeting of the PDP. And if they would finally have some harmony and peace in their house.
I mean, we have, will I say, less than 2 years or approximately 2 years before, the 2027 election. So, of course, like I mentioned yesterday, there will be, of course, many statements, political statements like that will be made. But let's quickly go to the platform times. And of course, mass deportation. U.S. immigration authorities target over 3,690 Nigerians. Adding that with the HIV funding, there is a whole lot of, apprehension as to what this will mean for Nigeria, both in the health sector and also for immigration. So another story, Show-Me admonishes Fubara as a River Governor marks 50 years birthday. A sad one here on the top of the platform times. 4 fear dead as explosion erupts in Ogun State. Sad story. Niger governor urges national support for NAPTIP, backs new command. And there is a bold statement here on the bottom strip of the platform times where El Rufai says he denounces the All Progressives Congress. I no longer recognize the ruling party. What does this mean?
I don't know what that means. But let's get to the Hope newspaper. 828 foreigners repatriated in 2024. This is according to the Interior Minister, which there's a lot to say about that ministry under the leadership of Tunji Ojo. He's been, Bumi Ojo rather, he's been doing quite a lot of, great things. A tragedy as PDP leader found dead in Ondo as NAFDAC seals 250 factories producing fake beverages. Wow. Lamide, something again really crazy there. Ondo Guba Ayedatiwa Adelami's election in order, appeal court rules. This is as the appellate court dismisses petition from PDP's Agbola Ajayi. Well, I've always wondered why elections can't end at the polling unit. When INEC declares you the winner, go home and deliver the dividends of why you were elected. Why do we always need to go to court over and over again? Now, this is across both sides. I'm not saying anybody particularly.
Well, and that's why
I'm looking for that day.
That's why it's a democratic process, and anyone who is not satisfied with the process, of course, can go to court, is allowed to go to court. But talking about the Interior Ministry and looking at some of the progresses that we've seen in the past years, one will say that there is more work to be done, but progress has been made. Looking at border security, immigration, all of that, and also our passport policies, how smooth it is now to get your passport
don't
in
even
Nigeria.
Get me there. I could spend the whole day talking about that.
Revenue generated, and also the Nigeria Correctional Service. A lot of
good news,
good news
coming from that ministry under his leadership,
and so they are working very well assiduously as the paramilitary to assist security agencies. But I believe the next paper this morning will be the News Direct, Nigerian News Direct, and it says here NAFDAC seals 250 factories producing fake Hennessy, Coca-Cola, others in Abia State. No Sharia court authorized to operate in Ogun State. Government wants promoters and focus on rebuilding your party, not distracting Nigerians with false claims. APC is replying, the candidate of the People's Democratic Party. But for this story on NAFDAC, selling 250 factories producing fake Hennessy and Coca-Cola, orders in other states, we've seen a whole lot, a whole lot of that in past days by, NAFDAC. This raises an alarm as to the number of, fake drinks now in circulation in the public. And not necessarily at a lesser cost. You see people buying Hennessy in the clubs and all of that at even more you know, more costlier prices and all of that. But
and we are getting to buy these things to consume, Olamide. There's an issue of liver and kidney infection right here, you know, rising up. And so we need to stop this kind of lifestyle. You cannot be producing fake beverages and selling it to people to consume. You are building a bomb in people's health. That cannot be allowed to exist.
That cannot be allowed to exist. It's very important to reiterate that. But it's also important, you know, to also, you know, plead to the human side. Will I say the human side of Nigerians?
That's what we're doing.
Not to risk the lives of others just to make gain. But let's see what the next newspaper has.
The blueprint right here is our next paper to be considered. NAFDAC swaps on Aba market. Confiscate 5 billion naira fake wines and other products. And we've taken the story on the HIV issue from President Donald Trump. The big header here says EU commits 19 billion euro to Nigeria's democracy, good governance. I love that, Olamide. We won't meddle in your internal politics. McNaught assures INEC doesn't receive direct funding from donors. This is coming from Professor Yakubu himself, saying no, Nigeria takes care of us directly. Dogara tackles Bala, reveals how Wike bankrolled Bauchi governor's campaign. Olamide, some issues still going on in the PDP right here. The minister of the FCT had come up himself actually to say that he did that, and quite a number of other, you know, persons as well. So we're waiting to see the outcome of this at the end of the day. And something right here on economy, Naira stabilizes in black market as CBN unveils forex code. Olamide, do you have some dollars in your...
Don't do that.
You need to have...
Don't do that. I think this is what this Nigeria is also starting with. Let's see what this Nigeria has to say. This Nigeria says unethical conduct, CBN vows to deal swiftly with forex code violators, reveals how ways and means financing plunged the economy into inflation, currency depreciation. Bank CEO signed statement of commitment. A political statement here on the bottom strip of this Nigeria, Dogara to Bala Mohammed. You stabbed Wike in the back. Ex-rep speaker, he knelt while appreciating the FCT minister's huge financial assistance towards his election.
Okay, he knelt.
Knelt. I want to believe that's in quote. On the top of this Nigeria by the right, Senate issues ultimatum to project coordinator over 17 billion naira Ogoni cleanup. That's another issue of, you know, concern. Looking at the fact that some of these IOCs are now divesting to other businesses, it's very important for them to also make sure that they clean up the region that they were able to, you know, generate revenue from. Let's quickly go to the next paper.
The next paper to be considered is the Nature News. The Nature News has quite a number of stories right there. Minister of Finance Edun seeks foreign investments in Nigeria's electricity sector. Again, this is some good news because we're looking for everything we can do to fix Nigeria's power so we can have stable power supply. Climate crisis, global leaders allay fears over Trump's Paris Pact exit. And if you see there, there's a picture story right there with our president gleaming very proudly in the middle with the former vice president himself, the president of the AFDB, and our lady at the UN right there. This is at the World Bank, at the summit, energy summit that took place in Tanzania. The president, of course, is back to the country, but this is beautiful to see, Olamide. Fantastic, fantastic. But I'll take something else right here. Yemen embraces solar energy for recovery amidst crisis as Nigeria establishes solid minerals cooperation to revolutionize mining sector. Lamide, this is another good story right here. We're waiting to see the dividends of this cooperation.
As always, and let's go to the last paper, and that will be, you know, the Sporting Life. And it says here, Boniface gets 50 million euros net annually. 2026 World Cup qualifier squad. Chile considers new options to Seaman goalkeeper and we've learned enough to conquer Africa through Ekong, fires a warning. Well, that's the major story on the newspaper.
Well, I mean, at these days, I'm beginning to wonder what's going on with you being the one taking Sporting Live every other day. I mean, shouldn't I be the one to do that? But not your fault, by the way. But let's look at something on the first Salamide. Again, the Minister of Interior, Tunji Ojo. There's a headline there. Interior Ministry earned 6 billion in 2024. I'm not pretty sure, but this is some great money I've heard that ministry is generated. And the minister came in, combed the house, set the structure, more like what the scripture, if I can go there, before you build the altar, set the wood in place before you put fire, right? He came in, put the wood, human and, technical structure in place. And then that ministry now is becoming a pride for Nigerians, because it is easier now to get your passport, right? You don't need to wait for months before you get it. This is something really great the minister has done in that sector.
I mean, apart from, immigration issues and all of that, it also spread across board. The Federal Fire Service, also the Correctional Service. We've seen a lot of reforms as to that. But I think these are the papers we can check this morning, and we can pass it, right back to Veronica and Ibrahim.
Right. And Vera, if I may ask you, when last did you visit any, immigration office for your visa or your passport? And if you haven't, would you be visiting anytime soon?
The last time I visited was 2022, but I did a 10-year passport because I didn't want to be going back and forth with regards to the matters and issues of passport and all of that.
Well, as for me, I'm due to visit again, so I'm looking anytime this week, next week, very soon, because I just have to renew my passport.
Anyway, thank you guys for bringing us up to speed with what the papers are saying this morning. We'll take it over now.